photos sold. That I had a photo sold at the show at the Sama Ligonier. And the show was sponsored by an organization, SP Arts, it's Southwestern Pennsylvania Council for the Arts, I think it is. And I didn't read the fine print when I was submitting my photos on what their commission would be should a photo be sold. And I mistakenly priced my photo with a 20% commission. And when I got the check in the mail here the other day, and I thought, wow, I thought I was going to get more than that. So I did some back calculations, and they charged a 40% commission. And it was actually two 20% commissions individually. One was for SAMA themselves, and one was for this SP Arts organization. So I went back to the original prospectus, and sure enough, although it didn't say it very clearly, if you read it, you could see that both of them were getting a 20% dib on your sales price. So read the fine print.
That literally does not surprise me at all coming from that group.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a shock. Fortunately, I still had done my grocery shopping already, so I wasn't counting on that to get the week's groceries in.
That's a good thing.
Yep, definitely. Okay, so
Right,
enough of my
Pop-Tart.
stupidity. I just thought I'd mention it in case someone else falls into that trap.
Galleries
Don't forget your-
frequently charge 50%.
Who does?
Galleries frequently charge 50%.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Seems like a lot.
People wonder why you have to charge so much on your artwork whenever you put them in a gallery.
Okay. So, oh, by the way, I apologize. The last couple of months per request, I had put together a list of the links of these articles that we're going to review, and I didn't get around to doing that tonight, so I apologize. Make sure I remember that next time. So this one, Nikon is discontinuing the D500, which is a APS-C camera. And so I don't know my cameras, but apparently it was a fairly popular camera and a fairly good camera. They just decided they're going to discontinue it. So it's still available for sale while stocks are available, I guess. But I just thought that was interesting. And again, we've talked about this kind of foreshadowing the future are all the camera manufacturers eventually going to mirrorless as far as their better line of cameras. It certainly looks like it continues to head in that direction.
The future is here today.
I'm sorry, Carl?
The future is here today.
I'm having trouble hearing you. I apologize.
I'll just shut up. Don't worry about it.
All right. Can anybody else repeat what he said? Because I just didn't.
Said the future is here today.
Oh, thank you.
It needs to tighten the string between the cans.
Jim, the D500 was a very popular camera because it was a fairly good megapixel camera for an ASPC camera, as well as it had the really fast autofocus in it. So a lot of bird photographers and action photographers were choosing that camera over the bigger full frame cameras because of the autofocus that was built into it. It had an extremely good autofocus. So it's a shame to see them get rid of that, but if they're going to do things like the new Z9 that's coming out or that is out that you can't buy, I guess they can discontinue that.
I think the D850 is getting a little bit hard to find also.
Yeah, the 850, it'll be next to go because they have an 860 out as well after the 850.
I'm done upgrading for a long time.
I'm not.
Anybody that still wants to hang with DSLRs, it was the other day, I just brought it up again to take a quick look at it and see what the price was. It's a Canon EOS. It's a 5DS R DSLR. It's $14.99 at B&H. 50 megapixel imager. 50. And I thought, wow, I might spend another year or two with a digital camera rather than going with the electric. But just in case, it's $1,500 and it's a 50 megapixel. So if you already have Canon lenses, it might be one to think about. Now, my two Canon cameras are, one is really old 11 megapixel, and the 5D that I have is a 20, basically 20 megapixel camera. It's 21, but it's 20, it's usable. So someone like myself looking for an upgraded camera, and this camera is probably a 6-7-year-old camera itself, but just letting you know, if we're looking at cameras and looking at the future, that it would probably be brand new, a perfectly good camera. And if you like large pixel sensors, it has it for $1,500 and whatever lens you already have. Just thought that I'd pop that in there.
Thanks, Rex. So speaking of new cameras and new camera features, leads me to the next one. And when I saw this article originally, I almost just passed it up because I didn't really think that any of our members are using Olympus cameras. I could be wrong. But if you recall, somewhere in the last year, Olympus actually sold their camera division to this company that's now called OM Digital. And they're coming out with their first version, if you will, of an Olympus camera. And it's a micro four thirds camera. And I guess it was kind of for that reason as well that I thought initially it just wasn't something that would interest the group. And then I started reading what was that?
Oh, nothing. I accidentally was reading out loud.
Oh, okay. So this camera is truly unique in a number of ways. And about a week or so ago, I actually had a fairly short video that demonstrated some of its features, and I misplaced it somewhere along the line. But I'll just mention to you some of the features this has that makes it unique. And I'm not suggesting that you might want to switch whatever you're using to go to this camera. But what I think it demonstrates is where the camera technology is going now. And basically, it's trying to catch up with the camera you got in your phone as far as the use, and they used the term I hadn't heard before, computational photography. And those of you who have fairly recent smartphones are at least aware of some of the features of not only does the camera take the photo, but it can do all kinds of things with that image in addition to just taking the photo itself. So this particular OM1 camera, some of the unique features it has, at least that I thought were unique, and maybe some other cameras have it and I'm just not aware of this. So when I say something, if you say, oh, my camera's got that, by all means, educate me and the rest of us. So some of the computational photography, it has in-camera HDR capability. So with my camera, I can set it up to take 3 or 5 or maybe 7 exposures plus or minus the neutral exposure, if you will, and download them to the computer and put them in some software and have a composite HDR image. This camera does that in camera for you.
Jim,
Mine
Yeah, I
does.
think a lot of cameras do that.
Do they
I know
really?
my camera's from 2013 and it does that.
So
Does it as a
you know,
JPEG, but it does it.
what camera?
The 70D.
Okay. And Beth, I saw you waving your hand.
Yep, my Pentax K3 first gen, which is, I bought it in 2015 and it probably came out in 13. And it can do HDRs in camera.
Yeah, okay, interesting. I'm glad you mentioned it. So the next,
I never
Carl?
knew, but
the D850 and the D700 both do that. Jim, what camera are you using?
Use a Fuji XT2.
Pardon?
Check your menus.
Fuji?
Jim, just go through your menus. I bet you have it already.
No, well, no, I can take the exposures automatically. But
Yeah, you might have the option to build the HDR in your camera.
I'm sorry,
You might have the option to build the HDR in your camera.
my camera does not have the option to do it in camera.
It might
I've
be.
got to
Check
take
your
the
menus.
individual shots and use software to combine them.
Time to upgrade.
Second one is the use of ND filters, if you will, built into the camera. They're not actually physical filters. It's algorithm, if you will, on the camera. When you take the shot, you can set up the shot to take a 3-stop, 5-stop, 10-stop, whatever stop. I forget how many it goes up to. It can do in-camera focus stacking. And again, not just taking 50 photos that you download and then stack them in software. It stacks them for you in camera. Anybody does that?
Yeah.
No, not mine.
D850.
Not mine.
Okay.
The 850 does it. I've done it. I did a demonstration on it once.
yeah.
I did not know that.
I think that the Pentax K1 might be able to do that. That's the full frame one that I'm probably gonna get next.
Okay, well, I thought these were earth shattering. Obviously, they're not.
Oh, it's a nice looking camera.
The other thing it has is, and I don't know if this is a gimmick or not. It was hard to tell. So, you know, I suspect most cameras have continuous autofocus capabilities, and different manufacturers have different capabilities on how well that actually acts. This one includes, you can pick a subject and it'll recognize the subject for you. So for instance, if you went down to the local lake and you wanted to do some bird photography, there's a bird recognition setting for the autofocus, continuous autofocus setting. In the video that I showed or saw, it looked like it was pretty remarkable how well it could keep focus. And if there's like a half a dozen different subjects. Obviously, there's people. There were animals, which I think were like dogs and cats and stuff like that. There was a race car. There was an airplane. I forget what else. And other thing is, and I think it depends on what shooting mode you're in, but it can go up to 120 frames per second. That's about it. But apparently it was not as interesting as I thought it was.
No, that's interesting. No, listening to the technology is very, very interesting. It's good to know that the fastest mine goes is 4 frames a second, and this goes 150.
120.
Yeah, 120. Yeah,
Now it's a video
so
camera.
that's good to know.
That 120 frames per second. Good.
It's just like shooting video.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, the other.
120 is 30 meg.
if you need a big card.
36.
Yeah, that's probably right. The other feature it has, I know what, like a lot of these smartphones are doing this. So it's a roughly 20 megapixel sensor. There's a high resolution setting that it can give you 50 megapixel images. And it does some type of multiple shot combination in camera to go from the 20 to 50. I'm not sure technically how it works, but I know some of the smartphones kind of must use similar type technology for that purpose.
Now, if there was a setting that allows you to take better pictures, better
Yes.
compositions,
Yes. Oh, better.
better compositions,
There probably is.
allow you to
Theo.
see light better. It's like, yeah, it has all the
cool
toys on it,
mountains.
but it's not going to help you take better pictures.
You are 100% correct. All right, we'll move on. So this is the winners of the International Landscape Photographer of the Year. And there's photos here of 3 individual photographers themselves, like a half a dozen photos for each one. First place, second place, third place. And then there's some other photos that were just individually awarded prizes in this. But they're pretty, those of you who like landscape photography, there's some pretty spectacular photos here. So we'll just scroll down through them. The overall winner was a guy from Turkey. And you'll see several of his photos kind of have this theme here of these conical type mounds, if you will. There's one.
Nice.
Oh,
Almost looks like a sketch.
Yeah,
That's neat. It looks like another planet.
it does.
Where's he shooting these?
It's an this Cappadocia, I think, are most of them. It's I didn't look it up. I assume it's in Turkey since he's from Turkey, but I don't really know that.
Road trip. Let's go.
And then this next part, this is the second place photographer.
Wow.
These are some pretty spectacular scenes.
Can you imagine trying to get up there just to take that shot?
Yeah.
imagine getting back down
Look
without.
how deep that snow. Look how
Yeah,
deep that
that's the
snow
feature I
is.
want on my next camera. The one's going to get me there.
Button on the back for "Take Me to the Mountains."
Yeah.
Mhm.
It'd be interesting to see what these look like straight out of the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's obviously a little bit of post-processing going on here, but
Mhm.
You think?
it's still pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, those sheep can't be real.
Way up in the mountain. If it
And this was the second place winner.
is.
Spectacular scenery.
I think this is the third place winner. Yeah, the scenery is, I mean, these are obviously great photographs, but you're right. The scenery, it would be spectacular just to be there.
Mhm.
I want to go back to Whistler. They won't let me get up to the mountain before sunrise.
We're going there for our Milky Way photo shoot this year.
Out to the desert?
Yeah, why not?
Hey, what the heck?
Which desert?
I don't know. These, it doesn't really say where they're taken. And then these are just individual photos. Well, actually, this was the photo of the year. This is for an individual.
Wow.
I didn't notice this the first time, but I think there's even lake trails in there, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's got it all going.
Did it say where that was taken at?
Mount Tamalpais. Oh, it's San Francisco.
Across the bay from San Francisco.
We could go there.
I have a friend who lives in San Francisco. Let me see if he'll let me stay there for a while.
Wow.
Very simplistic.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how do you find 3 adjacent hills that each has a tree on the very top?
Photoshop.
Yeah.
Looks like a paint.
That would be, I'm not saying that's what happened, but that would be the easy way.
Yeah. Marty, they found your trees.
Jim, where was that taken at?
Might be
say?
my next.
Switzerland.
Switzerland, okay.
Well, actually, it's the Cedric, I guess that's a man's name, is Switzerland. So I don't know if that necessarily means it was taken in Switzerland.
Took a couple visits to get, wait a minute, hold up. If you read above it, it was saying,
That's
A
for the
couple
one
visits.
above, yeah.
fog of the hills at the dreamy setting that I waited patiently for some cars to drive. Oh, that was the other one.
Other photo,
Yeah.
yeah.
The San Francisco one. It also said it was 2 exposures.
Hmm.
Yeah.
This is a dolly. This is not
Yeah.
Salvador Dali, okay? Not a real photo.
So
That's real.
I know
Wow.
there's places
Exposure.
where you can find trees in the water. But then how you get that cloud to come over at the right time, I don't know.
Ah,
It's like a cross between Dolly and Yulesman.
I don't know, but it's really neat.
Yeah.
Philip,
Ooh, I like that one. I like that
Yeah.
one.
that's
Mhm.
nice. Simple.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I suspect that there's a small immature tree growing right behind this trunk. I don't think these branches are coming out of this tree.
Oh.
Hmm.
Cool.
Hmm.
That's an aerial view of a,
Yeah. Of an active,
Brian, get out your drone.
yeah.
active volcano.
A couple weeks.
That's pretty.
That's really nice. Even without the fog, that'd be a nice photo.
Mhm.
Fog just really adds to it though. Looks like a hand
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
with a, with the thumb coming into the water.
Mhm.
Oh, that's neat.
I can't figure that one out, to be honest.
I think it's parts of a building, but I'm not sure.
These are all supposed to be landscapes.
Well, it got the Hand of Man award.
Oh, I see what Beth's saying.
Okay.
Man made it as opposed to being a photo of a man's hand. You might be right. Okay. That was
But
it on
yeah,
that.
it definitely looks like it's part of a building.
So I thought those were pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those of you who would like to make some additional money being a photographer, the title says Airbnb, 4-second shooters. The actual name of the organization is Shoot With Me. And if a local, let's say, wedding photographer needs an assistant, they can go on this site and find somebody who's signed up with Shoot With Me to hire as an assistant. What's interesting about this, let's say that I wanted to participate in this. I actually am charged monthly to put my services on the site for someone to possibly pick me. And the rates are for a quote assistant, which I think is just a, hey, go get me that lens or go get me another SD card or whatever. Yes, an assistant, you pay $8 per month to be listed on the service. For a second shooter, you pay $17 a month. And as an associate photographer, you pay $30 a month. So anyway, I thought that was worth mentioning that the service is available.
Did you sign up, Jim?
Not yet. I was waiting for you to tell me how it went.
So what
You'll have to
exactly?
negotiate your fees.
So what exactly is this? A service for people that run out their Airbnbs?
Well, no, they're just quote. It's similar to how, rather than being an Airbnb, it's for photographers. So this has nothing to do with condo rentals and house rentals. This is
Kind of like a temp agency.
Let's say Rex
Yeah.
has got he's going to do an entire high school graduation class. And he thinks, geez, I cannot do this all by myself. So he goes on this Shoot With Me website and does a search for local Western Pennsylvania photographers like Bob DeJesus, who has signed up for this. And he sees Bob's resume, if you will, on the site and says, oh, I'll contact Bob and have him be my second shooter for this, for the high school graduating class or whatever it is. So Bob, in addition to paying the money up front on a monthly basis just to have his services posted, I believe Bob would also like state, hey, I'll do this service for X dollars per hour. In Bob's case, it would be about $250 an hour.
More, Jim, more.
Oh, no.
No, don't sell me cheap.
But fortunately, Rex is filthy rich, so he's willing to pay Bob that amount.
Oh, wait a minute, Annie, how much did I pay you when you helped us on the school?
Not a thing.
I think she got a lunch.
I think we got lunch out. Yeah, we got a gift card.
Hey, there's lots of us that'll work for food.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Brian works for food.
On that.
Feed him, he's a
Yeah,
happy boy.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yep.
We'll move on. So, Marty, for whatever reason, I kind of thought about you.
Oh, that is cool.
So you can read the title. Artificial intelligence created art cannot be copyrighted in the US. And this has gone through, it's a recent decision by the US Copyright Office. And a fellow, and this was the image, if you will, that was ended up being under litigation, or maybe litigation isn't the correct term, because I don't think it ever went to court. But he appealed to the Copyright Office, I guess, a couple of different times before they told him no each time. And the interesting quote from the article was the Copyright Office said that the image, because of the way it was produced, quote, lacks human authorship. Now, we all know how much we've talked about the use of AI in some of the post-processing software that we're currently using or might be using in the future. It seems like it could be a fairly large gray area on this. And I don't know if anybody's interested in copyrighting their images or not, or whether they have. I know I put my images are copyrighted. I'm not sure how official that makes it, to be quite honest with you.
It does.
Does.
It
Okay.
does.
But in this case, let's say that Marty did this image and someone stole it from her, and she claimed copyright protection. Based on this article, it sounds like she would not, or yeah, she would lose that argument, if you will. Now, this particular
My
image,
life.
it was produced, it was really AI produced. It was some type of a program someone developed, and you throw in some information into it and it spits out an image. I mean, it's like almost completely a random image generator, as opposed to you or I maybe taking a photograph that would be a human authorship, if you will, and then manipulating it. So this might be a very unusual case, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
I'd like to go ahead. Go ahead, Marty.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing that he's saying about me? I just
Well, I know you like to do like creative images. That's the only reason I mentioned that.
no, I'm just joking.
I have a question about this whole thing. AI created art cannot be copyrighted. Well, there are movies that are almost 100% AI. I can't think something like Pi. What was it? The something of Pi.
That's not necessarily AI. That's just computer generated. There's an article.
Well,
It's CGI is not the same thing as AI.
okay, all right.
What
Then
I'm
I
saying is
stand
that
corrected.
you turned
Now-
on a computer and said,
That
draw me an
clarifies.
image, and it drew this.
That clarifies it. I also wonder just how much AI is used in creating movies in production. So in other words, a little of both. But then does
Most
that
filmmakers
negate?
are control freaks, so I don't know that they want to use too much AI.
Mhm. Okay, well, it was just a question.
I'm not saying it's
didn't
not
make-
possible. I'm just saying.
Okay, I didn't think of the distinction between CGI and AI.
Just so you know, Jim, I don't know how to do AI, so I would not be doing that kind of a photo.
So then the AI is a hands-off creation by the device you used to make the image. Is that the definition?
Pretty much.
That
Okay.
would be my general interpretation. Yes, Rex.
Okay.
Well,
Does
let's say
any-
if you make a photo from Lightroom or Photoshop with AI, let's say replacement of the sky or the neural filters of Photoshop, does that mean that you cannot contest it if it's stolen and all that because it's AI used
No,
in your
AI
photo?
used is different than, because in this, the guy that submitted it for copyright actually told them that there was no human author involved in the work.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh.
like if
He
you
set
do,
himself up.
if you use an AI tool You're
Oh.
saying, okay, do this. And then it comes up with something. You say, yeah, that's what I want. And then I do this, and then you do that, and do something else. So you're still the one creating it. With this was hit enter on the keyboard, and the computer came up with this image.
Oh, okay, okay,
This is way beyond just AI
Okay.
in Lightroom.
okay.
The way the computer gets
That's right.
programmed is it looks at hundreds of thousands of images and then
Was there a lens and a sensor involved?
not combines them, but says it puts pieces or aspects of all those images together and creates something.
Mhm.
So Jim, there was no actual photo here. It's just a computer program.
That's my understanding.
Okay. Okay.
Or as DL was alluding to, let's say the railroad track rails and ties might have been a photo that someone once upon a time fed into this computer algorithm. And the purple flowers might have been a photo that someone had taken that was fed into this algorithm. And et cetera, with everything else that happens to be in the photo. And somehow this algorithm put together this image.
Okay.
I don't like it.
So I thought that was interesting. So we haven't done a good video for a while. So
Well, DL's on here, so we're good.
so I thought now's the time. So we'll end with this. It's only like 2 or 3 minutes long. And please scream if you don't hear the audio, but the way I set it up, it should be playing the audio.
Honey, I'm home. Great little session of photography today. Hello, is this Sony? Hi, this is Niels from the Netherlands. I have a very interesting proposal. How about I make a video about the new Sony a7 IV, you get to use it as promotion, and I get to keep the camera. Hello? Hello? Smile to the bunny. Where is the little bunny? Where's the bunny? All right. Now take everything off. So here are your prints. It did turn out a little bit more expensive than anticipated. Do you want the digital files as well? Because those are 500 euros extra. All right, let's see. Contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, clarity, contrast, vibrance. Play with the S-curve. Perfect. Hi. You shooting Pentax? You're shooting Pentax. Oh, you shouldn't shoot Pentax. Look, it really is quite simple. With your aperture, you control your depth of field, your shutter speed equals motion, keep your ISO low, avoid chromatic aberration, use the rule of thirds and other compositional techniques. It really is quite simple. Where are you going?
Yep.
Hi friends, thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you like it. I really had a lot of fun making it. If you aren't already a subscriber of this YouTube channel, you can click over here. And if
All right, that's the end of me this evening.
That was good.
That's cute, Jim.
That's
Very
about
cute.
accurate too.
Yeah.
Look like DL.
Except he had to make fun of Pentax, but
Oh, bad.
Well, when he's right, I don't know.
hey.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you know, I
That would
figured
be
Brian
nice,
was going
sorry.
to get in there with the, you know, with the comments about the cameras. He always does.
Hmm.
I never make any comments. All I say is, "I'm sorry you're using a Canon."
Yep,
All right, Jim, thank you very much. That was good.
that was funny.
The video was a
Thank you,
good way
Jim.
to end your section there. Very good.
Thank you.
Nicely done. Okay, Annie, did you figure out how to get to your tips and tricks, or you figure out your email or whatever it was you were trying to figure out?
Well, I have my email open. Doesn't mean that I'm going to get this pulled up. Wait a minute. To find Margie in here.
While you all were doing that, I did take a look and see that the History Center opens at 10 a.m. on Saturday, and I have purchased my ticket for my $8 or $18. I have my ticket. I'm ready to go, and I even paid the 72 cents processing fee that they normally wouldn't charge me, and I agreed to pay for that for them too. But I didn't
On
donate.
Saturday?
Huh?
But it was,
I thought it was Sunday.
It
Sunday,
is Sunday.
Sunday the 27th. What did I say?
Yeah, well, he said Saturday.
Saturday.
I said Saturday. Oh,
Yes, you better check.
I meant Sunday. Sunday.
You better make sure.
And my ticket says Sunday on it too, so we're okay. February 20th.
Okay. All right. I have the thing up. I have to figure out how to do this. So share screen. Okay.
If you're sharing any kind of audio or a video or anything like that, make sure you click on the bottom of the share screen that you want to share your audio as well.
Okay, I don't want that. Where's my, I don't want that.
You meanie money that one.
Trying to find. No, that's Zoom. I have the thing open on my Google Chrome. Oh. Hold on.
While Annie's working on that, I will tell you that Luminar Neo is out now. I don't know if you knew that Luminar was bringing out a new version of Luminar, but they did. It's called Neo, Luminar Neo, N-E-O. I have a link if you're interested in buying it. You can buy it at a discounted price right now. I bought it. I'm not sure why.
Buy everything.
It was one of them things. I was like sitting on my computer the other day at work and I was bored and I ended up buying Luminar Neo and Luminar AI. So I have them and I'm not really sure why or what I'm going to do with them, but I've got them. They're pretty good at sky replacements. I can tell you that. Pretty good at sky enhancements. I can tell you that. But other than that, it just seems like a normal program.
Okay, did my screen come up on your?
It did.
Okay.
Pixel.
This is-
Oh, there we go.
Hello Street Snappers and welcome to another street photography video. Someone asked me
Is the sound
recently
on?
if I'm a
Yep.
YouTuber
Sounds good.
or a photographer, which I thought was a pretty strange question, but it did make me think. And the answer is most definitely the latter. I'm a photographer who makes a few YouTube videos. I'm not a professional YouTuber who does a bit of photography. And I've been a photographer for most of my life. And what I'm trying to do with this series of street photography videos is put some of that experience to good use. If you haven't come across me before, I'm a pro street photographer and photojournalist. I don't do weddings or landscapes or any of that stuff, just street and documentary photography. So that's enough about me. Let's get into this subject of confrontation.
Uh-oh.
So, confrontation. It happens to us all from time to time, and it kind of goes with the territory of being a street photographer. But confrontation is maybe a strong word, and for me, 9 times out of 10, when somebody questions what I'm doing, I'd say it's more of an engagement than a confrontation. Like these two, who spotted me taking a picture. They shrugged, they smiled, there was a little engagement, maybe a bit of a smile, but certainly no confrontation, and no problem. But I'm going to explain how I deal with engagement or confrontation on the streets. As always, I try to get across in these videos that there's no right or wrong approach. All I'm aiming to do is explain what works for me. And this has worked for me for a long time. So, let's say you've just taken someone's picture in the street. Just put yourself in their shoes for a moment. One of 3 things will happen. Firstly, your subject is so self-absorbed, as many people are in big cities, that they won't even notice what's happening. Either that, or they'll completely ignore it. And there's a good tip for you. Shoot people who are distracted or involved in something they're doing. They're far less likely to notice you, and therefore there's a much slimmer chance of any confrontation. So that's an easy one to deal with. There's no engagement. The second scenario is that they see you taking the picture, they maybe catch your eye, they may raise an inquisitive eyebrow, but that's all, and they really just ignore it. The third scenario is they're really quite curious. Why me? Why is he taking a picture of me? I'm just an ordinary guy. Again, this is unlikely to cause any kind of problem for you. The person's curious. Another scenario, and this is the one that really concerns us more, is that they're not pleased with you and they'll confront you. So let's look at how we deal with each of those scenarios. And the final situation we should talk about is when you're confronted by a security guard. So we'll come on to that a little later. So let's look at this first situation where you're unnoticed. And this is the easiest scenario to consider. And if you've watched some of my other street photography videos, you'll know that I believe that good street photographers work quickly and quietly, quite stealthily, blending into their surroundings, and are generally unseen. We carry minimal gear and we look more like tourists than photographers. We're no threat to anyone, and that's not usually going to lead to confrontations.
Danny, move your chat
Then there's the
box
curious
off the
guy who
side.
sees you taking the picture, and he's thinking, why me? He's unlikely to be angry, just puzzled. And for most people out there, it's quite unusual that a complete stranger wants to take their picture, and they probably just want to know why. A lot of people have never heard of street photography, they don't really understand what we're doing, and we've got to remember that this engagement is usually out of curiosity and not anger. They might say, did you just take my picture? Or why did you take my picture? My way of dealing with this is to smile, to thank them, and then walk away. This is usually enough to show that you're a decent human being. And it's as simple as that. Thanks. And then you're gone. It shows that you mean them no harm. And a smile is always quite disarming. So 9 times out of 10, that's the end of the matter. That works. Thank them, smile, and walk off. But sometimes that person will come back to you and they'll say, hang on a minute, why did you take my picture? Or did you just take my picture? And for this, you need your plan B response. Remember to stay relaxed, keep smiling, try not to look hard done by or defensive, and have open, positive body language. And at this point, it's crucial to remember that you're not doing anything wrong by taking somebody's picture. Okay, so why did you take my picture? This is where your script comes in. And we should all have a script. Not to be read out to someone in a kind of robotic way, but it's simply a statement that you're comfortable with, that explains what you're doing and why you're doing it. And you have to develop something that works for you. There is no one size fits all. So for example, I might say to somebody, well, actually it's a fairly wide lens and it was a picture of a street scene. You were in it, but it wasn't of you. Or you could explain that you're doing a documentary project about normal everyday life in Mayfair or wherever you are. Or you could say something like you're a student of street photography and you're working on an assignment to take pictures of street life. Just find something that works for you, that you're comfortable with. Learn it and stick to it, and you'll probably find that it works. But what if someone is clearly irritated or angry? In my experience, this is quite rare, but it does sometimes happen, so we need to know how we're going to deal with it. The first thing to remember is to stay calm and remain friendly. Don't respond to hostility with hostility. You need to de-escalate the situation, and you should be aiming to reassure them that you're a good guy, you're a nice person. Again, smiling is good, but don't be too glib or appear to be trying to trivialize the situation. A smile usually brings the temperature down a little. You may want to explain why you've taken the picture, and if it feels appropriate, maybe offer to show it to them. I try not to do this too often unless I'm really pushed into a corner and feel that I need to. But show that you're taking their concerns seriously, and if they insist you delete the picture, it's sometimes best to delete it. Though personally, I would see this as a last resort, but you've got to do what feels comfortable for you. And when you do delete the picture, that's probably the end of the matter. And in my experience, people don't usually get physical, especially if you've deleted the picture. And I think that's probably only ever happened to me once or twice. But there are times when people make it clear that they don't want their picture taken, and it's usually best to avoid them, or maybe not, as we can see in this picture. Or here, this guy said afterwards, "Don't take my picture." And my response was something like, well, if you're dressed like that, people are probably going to want to take your picture. And he was never going to be a threat to me, so I just took it. There's nothing we can do about these sort of confrontations. They do sometimes happen out of the blue, but thankfully they are very rare. And it's like falling off your bike as a child. The first thing you've got to do is to get back on that bike and carry on riding. And please don't let these experiences put you off street photography. They really are few and far between and rare occurrences. So then there's the confrontation with a security guard. And we need to make the distinction here first between public and private property. If you're shooting in a private space, such as a shopping centre or a railway station, there's probably a good chance that photography is not allowed. In which case, a security guard might ask you to stop shooting or to leave. And that's fine. Their property, their rules. But what if you're shooting on the street and a security guard challenges you? This is a different matter. If you're shooting in a public place, such as a street, you can do whatever you like and the law is on your side. And just remember this, if I can see it, I can shoot it. And that's really all you need to know. And this applies in most countries if you're in public. Sometimes this security guard that we encounter is really nice and friendly. And in this case, I'll try to explain the law to him in a friendly way, just try to put him right with a smile on my face. But I will stand my ground and I won't be bullied into stopping shooting. If the guard's hostile or some way unpleasant, then I'll explain my rights maybe a little more persuasively. And if he wants to call the police on me, then I'll be quite happy to stick around and wait for them, because I know exactly what they're going to say. Take this picture, for example. I was standing in the street taking the shot. Although the building in the background is a private building, it's the Cabinet Office in Whitehall in London, a security guard told me I couldn't take the picture. I was standing in the street, but the policeman who was standing opposite just smiled and said, "It's no problem, you carry on." But this video isn't really about the legal aspects of street photography, because there's so much more that needs to be said about that, and I will make one about the legal stuff soon. So that's generally how I respond to these engagements on the street. But there are more things you can do, and here are a few more tips for you. Firstly, try to avoid people you think may react badly. Quite often there's no knowing how people react, but sometimes you just get a sort of negative vibe from some people, and something inside you says, no, don't take his picture. And in that case, if you've got any concerns or you're worried about a confrontation, just forget it and move on to something else. Life's too short. Another scenario is once you've engaged with somebody, and let's say it turns out to be a fairly positive engagement, you could then make the most of the situation and turn it into a street portrait. So this is a posed rather than a candid picture of somebody on the street. And I know some people will say this is not street photography, but I think it is just about, although it is right out there in the margins of what most of us understand to be street photography. And if you want to find out the how and why of doing street portraits, I'll pop a link up here to an earlier video I did on that very subject. So here are a couple of examples of before and after the engagement, situations that I've turned into a street portrait. I spotted this woman in her great outfit in Trafalgar Square, and I rattled off a few candid frames. Then she caught my eye, and that kind of broke the candid spell. She sort of half smiled, so I thought, well, I may as well ask her for a portrait. And then she was quite happy to pose for me for a few minutes. Here's another one. Just as I was taking her picture, she saw me. So I said straight away, "Great hat, can I take a portrait of you?" She said, "Yeah, no problem." And I spent 5 minutes with her, got quite a few pictures, and I ended up with what I thought was quite a nice street portrait. What else can you do? I would recommend to any street photographer that you get some little cards made. And these little business cards give you that little bit of authority and legitimacy as a photographer, and they'll show people that you're serious about your art, not just some weirdo or chancer with a camera. Finally, practice. Practice, 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 and then practice some more. The more engagements you have on the streets, the more confident and natural you'll be in responding to them, particularly the more negative ones. And do think of these interactions as engagements and not confrontations, and that alone will make you feel just a little bit easier about them. Well, I hope that was useful. Please don't let any negative encounters put you off street photography, because they occasionally do happen, but they nearly always amount to nothing. So there we go. Thanks as always for supporting my channel, and I'll be bringing you another street photography video very soon. Bye for now.
That was good, Annie.
That was good.
Okay, now I gotta figure out how to get out of here.
Move your mouse to the top of your screen,
Okay,
and somewhere's up there, there should be a thing that says stop sharing.
I got you, Annie.
okay.
Annie, can you drop that link in the chat?
Hopefully.
Be careful what you're asking for, DL.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, I've never done this before, so I don't know.
Right. Well, thank you, Annie, for filling
You're
in on that. Some good tips there.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I guess that brings us over.
Brian,
Yeah.
just to follow up on that, is at the end there, he had the little business cards. Those of us who have been in the club for a few years have WPS name tags on a lanyard
Yeah.
you can hang around your neck when you're out doing street photography, that gives you that look and feel of being legitimate photographer rather than the creep, if you will.
Yeah.
It really helped us. Years ago, we were down on by the water fountain at PPG place, and there were some kids playing in the water, and I and a few others were wearing their badges, and I got some great pictures. One of two different families, one little boy, one little girl. I really love these pictures. I have them to this day. And we had our badges on. I used that. Plus, I think we had some of the cards too, the business cards. And when I talked to the mother about her little girl, she was okay with it. And when I talked to the gentleman watching his son playing in and out of the water, he was okay with it too, as well. I wound up sending him, he gave me his email, and I sent him one of the pictures of his son playing in the water. So it really does help.
Yep.
Okay, I did figure out how to put the link on there, so it's on in the chat. So there, DL. Hmm.
All right.
Ryan,
Yeah.
I came across an interesting tip. I don't know whether you want to share it now or, some other time.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay,
I don't
can I
know.
share a screen?
Hang on 1 second. Let me, Beth, how much time do you need?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Beth. No, forget it. Forget it.
I'm gonna be winging it. So, I mean, how long is your video?
It's not a video. It's just a little quick tip. Probably about 5 minutes. But that's okay. Forget it. Forget it. I just thought to occupy some time and all that. But go ahead, Beth. Go. I'm sorry. I apologize.
If there's time at the end, though.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Let's go for the end. Okay. If there's time.
I don't know how long this is gonna take.
Okay.
Okay, Beth, you're up.
Okay, because on Monday, let me do all of this. As of Monday, I was only going to be doing a little bit thing. And then that turned into, as of today at like noon, Margie let me know that she couldn't make it and it was all me. All right, you see my,
Yep.
are you seeing Sleek Lens starting to play?
Yeah.
Okay. This is basically textures, and Margie will cover brushes at some other point, but she sent me one video to play tonight too. But this is on textures, and it, for the most part, when you add a texture to something, all you're doing is adding another layer and then blending to make it look cooler in some way. So this one's a pretty good, easy intro. I've got at least one other one that's more in depth and starts off easy to understand and then goes, whoa, okay, need to watch that like 5 times to get it. But this one's pretty good.
Hey everyone, this is Jordan from sleeklens.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create your own Photoshop textures. Textures are a really great way to maybe add a distressed look to your photos. You can do all kinds of things with textures, and it's actually fairly easy to create your own textures. All you need is basically a sample image. So this image right here is kind of like a concrete floor. You can take your own images. You can even take them with your cell phone. They don't have to be super high quality. So this is just a picture, again, of like a concrete floor, concrete wall. And we're going to convert this into a texture that we can overlay on top of another photo. So this process basically is going to be the same exact process you would use for almost every texture out there. You might have to finesse it a little bit, but overall, this process will work on a very large number of sample photos that you might come across. So the first thing we're going to do is get our photo here, and we're going to duplicate it, and then we're going to duplicate it one more time. So you basically have 3 of the exact same images. So on this middle layer, we'll go ahead and deactivate the top one. On this middle layer, you're going to go up to Filter, Blur, and then Average. Now this is going to average out the colors of the photo and just kind of give you one solid color there. So now we're going to take this one and activate it and go to Filter, Other, and then High Pass. And here you can play with the values here. You can see it kind of darkened it a little bit. You can play with the radius of it, and you're going to see you're getting these weird basically generic textures that you can apply to your images. So if you want little dots here, you can use it that way. You can get more of a structured texture here. It's going to depend on whatever image you have, the way this works, but overall it's going to kind of give you some different results. I like a more structured part of my textures here, so I'm going to click on that one and click OK. And here I'm going to play with the opacity a little bit, maybe right around here. I don't want it to be too crazy. So I'm going to go right there, And for the most part, that's the texture I want. It looks very similar to the original one, except there's a little bit of a more uniform color going on instead of a really light and really dark. So there's more uniformity in the color. So I'm going to go ahead and click on these, merge these all together. So now we have one image here. Now what we're going to do is go to hue and saturation. We're going to apply a hue saturation adjustment layer. For this one, we really don't need a whole lot because it's already black and white, but overall I want to show you this is probably a step that you will have to do, but this one was, again, black and white to begin with, but I wanted to show you that you do probably need to put that step in there on a variety of images there. So now we're going to apply another adjustment layer, and that's the levels adjustment layer. And now we're going to basically mess with the black point and the white point here. So I'm going to take the white point up and drag that up here to right around where the spike is. I'm going to drag it basically to the middle of the spike. Now I'm going to take the black slider here and drag that up, and you can see that's giving a little bit more more of that texture coming back to maybe right around there. Maybe play with the whites a little bit more. And again, if you take the whites down a little bit more, you're going to have a little bit more distress or a more textured look. If you add this up, it's going to start to get more abstract once you apply it to your image. So you kind of want to play with it and get the result that you're looking for. So that's probably okay. So I'm going to go ahead and use that one for now. So I'm going to click on all these again, click Command or Control E to join these all together. And that is basically our texture. Now there's two things you can do here. You can unlock this, so you have this new layer here. I'm going to drag this, duplicate it, and you can go to Image Adjustments, and then you can go to Invert. And what invert's going to do is take the white color, make it black, and take the black color, make it white. So you can see it's the total invert of this layer below. So here you can save these as JPEGs individually. Just go ahead and do a normal save as and save them as JPEG for the black version and then the white version. You can do both. Or sometimes what I like to do is go ahead and save this Photoshop file so I have both images, and if I need to drag it in, I have the Photoshop file with the total uncompressed version of the texture to give me more detail, but it's totally up to you. So I'm going to use the white one for this example, and what we're going to do is overlay it on this portrait here. So I'm going to click on the white version here, and I'm going to drag this over and put it on top of our image here. Now this one actually fits pretty good. It actually fits it perfectly. So now we need to blend this into our image, and the way we're going to do that is with a blending mode, obviously. So we're going to go to our blending modes here, and you can play with whichever blending mode you like, whichever gives you the best result. But normally if you have a monochromatic image that is black and white or white and black, you're going to basically use two different blending modes. If you have a white texture like this, you're most likely going to use the multiply blending mode. That's going to basically take everything that's white and subtract it from your image. You can play with color dodge. That'll give you more striking look there. You can play with all these different textures. If this was the inverted option, which we can go ahead and drag over here just to show you, drag this over here and we'll fit, oh, I think I dragged the wrong one. We'll click on this one here and drag this over and fit this here and deactivate this one, drag that down. If you have a black version, you're probably going to go with screen. That'll take away everything that's black and leave the white. So you can see it's almost like a fog in a way. It's kind of cool. So there's different options that you can play with here. For this one, I'm going to take the white version just because I want to bring the black areas back into the image. It kind of makes it blend in a little bit more. So that is basically adding that texture to your image. You can play with the opacity to lessen it a little bit. What I like to do is if I have this texture that has, maybe for this example, has the model, I don't want the texture going all over the model here. So I can take my adjustment layer, or my layer mask, get a black brush, and just start painting away some of that texture. So maybe it doesn't just, interact with the model as much there. And that was just a rough drawing around. And there we go. So you can see the difference here before and after there. So again, if there was a black layer mask or a black texture, you would do the same thing, put the layer mask on there, you can paint it away. But that is basically how to create a texture and apply it to your photos in Photoshop. Very, very easy. You can do it with a variety of things. You can do it with sky photos. You can do it with wood photos. Anything that has a texture to it, that has a significant texture, you will probably be able to create a really cool texture library off of those type of images. And again, it doesn't have to be with your DSLR camera or your mirrorless camera. It can be with your cell phone, and the images will work perfectly as well. So thank you guys for joining me in this video. This has been Jordan from Sleeklens, and I'll see you in the next one.
Looks pretty easy, right? It actually is. Okay, now, all right, you see my on one screen with a whole bunch of tulips?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna show you, because this will show a lot of the different textures that I've made, because there are a lot of contests, and like with a lot of the Stony Brook stuff and with a lot of PSA contests, which I haven't really entered much, but if I did, everything that you use in a photo for a lot of those has to be made by you. So even the stuff that comes with on one, you're not supposed to use. Let me, I don't know which one I was going to use, but.
So you're saying like even the textures and things that are in the photo, anything that's on there that you use to enhance it has to be made by you?
Yeah.
Huh.
For a lot of stuff. So this is one I haven't even edited before, so I'm not really going to do an awful lot with it, but the blown highlights are driving me nuts. So, all right. In on one, for adding a texture, all you have to do is find it in there and add textures. And it will show you a preview of what it will look like, but you can add your own. And if I can get, I've got a lot in here, but all the ones in this folder are ones that I made. So like that one is aluminum foil with just like side lighting on it, and then an out of focus shot, probably with a lens, baby. And it's just in there in the background. So I can, and I do have blending modes in here. Let's see. And you can see it change as you go down through. It'll do all the different, like what you would get with each of the different blending modes. Actually, I think normal works pretty well. And you can flip it around. But there's a bunch that come with it. But these are the ones, if you can, they're kind of small on the side, but I've taken pictures of a journal from my grandmother when she was traveling and took pictures of that. And so you can turn words into a texture. I've got aluminum foil from a little bit farther back. I sprayed, I don't know, it's probably something from scrapbooking stuff or alcohol inks or something like that on canvas. And that's what that background is. I've got just paint on, I don't know, probably a piece of mat board or something. And I put I sprayed water on just a piece of plastic, put it on a light pad and added a little bit more light from the side, and then just took pictures of that slightly out of focus. I used the Creative Bokeh filter with one of the lens babies to get little hearts where there were lights. And This one doesn't show up on this picture, but if you can see it over on the side, it's basically watercolory, and you can just use watercolors. You can-
Shows up on mine.
Okay. And this one, you can take pictures of rust, like paint that's got rust in between, and you can use that as a texture. Actually, that one works pretty well. You can, on one, you can flip it around so that you can get stuff exactly where you want it. And then you can, oh, that's right. I was also playing with brushes before. But you can paint out the spots that you don't want. So you can, if you don't want the texture to be there, you can just paint that out. Let's see what else. On one, there's a bunch of different things that you can play around with when you add a texture to something. So I've really gotten used to doing it this way. But in Elements, you can do kind of similar. You can do it as you can add just a layer like the way he did in that video. You can also do this. I don't know where it is in the full Photoshop. This is Elements. But if you go into New Fill Layer and add a pattern, they're all textures. And you can pick something from there. And if you slide this over to be 1000%, and then play with the opacity, and then you can also add, you can like brush it off of the flower and things like that, whatever you want.
If, excuse me, you use the opacity slider, but you have the blend modes available there in Photoshop Elements as well you could use.
Yep. Yeah, you do. Actually, let's see. That. You can use part of using the blend modes. You also need to have like a difference in light and dark between your subject and the background. If they're both similar, it's not going to separate them that well. But it's definitely an option. And let's see, where was, and on one, there's this, I'll get a little bit into brushes, but I haven't really used them before. And Margie will do more with brushes when she has a chance to do her thing. But there was no storm. And those bolts of lightning look very, very similar, oddly enough. But you can actually, in local adjustments, you can actually add all different shapes in on one. And I'm fairly sure that Photoshop's got the same kind of capability. And you can make it however big or small, and you can angle it. Make it look like it's coming from down here, right on the tree. Do all sorts of weird things.
Mhm.
You can add fake birds. And I think Margie knows how to actually make the brush shape so that you can create your own. I don't, because today is actually the first time I've ever played with brushes.
Yeah, that's what she's working on, showing you how to make your own brushes and delete them if you don't want them. And
Yeah. But here's a video that she sent me. And because she said it was really good. So I will show this, and then.
Hey everybody, Aaron Blaze here, and welcome to another episode of Aaron's Art Tips.
Hold on one sec. I'll show this, and then we either questions or whatever, Bob's tip, whatever you guys want to do next. This is long, so I'm going to fast forward at least to the end of the intro.
Okay, so today I got a really cool episode. I want to show you how to take your creature design, something I like to do, character concepts, and add texture to them. Now, there's several different ways you can do this. You can use photographic textures that I take photographs of everything. All kinds of cool textures that I might find, textures in walls, textures on animals, anything. Textures of my face for skin. I photograph them, and I keep files and files of all these different textures that I use for my character paintings. Now, these are, these creature concepts and character things that I do. This is stuff I used to do for Disney, and I currently do now for other companies, and I do it for myself. It's a lot of fun. And recently, I created these elephant textures. I've gone to Africa and Nepal, kind of all over the world, chasing the wildlife for my wildlife career that I do, where I paint animals and that sort of thing. And I love to go into the wild. So I go, to East Africa and Nepal and that sort of thing. And what I've been able to do on my last couple of trips is I shoot photographs of elephant skin. Elephant skin is fantastic to use for different creatures and characters and that sort of thing, not just for elephants. And I'm going to show you. How in just a minute. But first, I want to talk about what I use. I haven't given a shout out in a little while, but I want to talk about Wacom. Today I'm in my office where I'm creating Art Story, which is a film I'm developing and directing in conjunction with Tradition Studios. And I've gone out and I bought a couple of Cintiqs for the office here. This one is a Cintiq. It's a 22-inch HD made by Wacom. I really love it. At home, I use a 24-inch, which you've probably seen me talk about before. Go check out their website. It's a fantastic tool, which I can draw and paint right on it. I'm a traditional guy. I'm used to drawing and painting literally, with traditional materials. And so when I made the transition over to the digital world, using the Cintiq was fantastic. It's wacom.com. That's wacom.com. They've got a lot of fantastic products, from tablets, Cintiqs, all kinds of different things. It's very cool. Also, I want to talk about some of the textures that I'm going to be showing you guys today. All of the textures that you're going to see me use, they're all available on my website. They're brand new. I've just come out with them. They've been very, very popular, and I want you guys to check them out, and you'll see how great they are in your character work. I've got both texture brushes, and I'm going to have a giant texture package of probably, I think it's about 80 photographs of high-res images of elephant skin and that sort of thing that you can use for some of your creatures. So enough of talking about it. Let's just go ahead and show it. So I'm going to show you, this is a creature that I created yesterday with a whole bunch of texture. I kind of went crazy with the texture, but I want to show you what you're able to do with these texture brushes and the texture package that I'm providing. So let's check this out. Look at this. You can see I've got a texture brush. I'm going to get into that in just a minute. But if you look at this, look at all the fun textures that I was able to create using the brushes and the texture package that I have on my website. This stuff, and this is all stuff I just shot myself. You can also do it yourself. There's ways of creating brushes and just keeping your own texture packages. But it's, you know, I believe that you need to shoot your own. I don't like to pull from other people's stuff. I think it's plagiaristic. And so I take it upon myself to create my own. Or you can go to my website and you can get them there. Okay, so check this out. And now I'm going to, let me take that off. There we go. Now I'm going to get rid of this. And if any of you follow me on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that, or Facebook, you'll see that what I've been doing lately, I've just gotten this kick where I go outside and whatever I see in the clouds, if I see a creature or something funny in the clouds, I'll do a painting over the top and I'll create that animal. Well, today I've got this giant ogre talking to a giant snail. Hey, that's pretty cool. But today what I thought would be interesting is to add some texture to it and show you how this works. So here I've got this rendered out character, but I want to add some texture, okay? So today I'm going to talk about the brushes, just how to use these textured brushes. Remember, these are fantastic. You can get them all over the place. Once again, you can get them on my website. And I'm going to come over here. I've got them loaded down at the bottom. I've got a whole bunch of brushes over here. But if you look down at the bottom here, you can see I've got all of these brushes. These are all available on my website right here on the bottom. And I'm going to grab, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's Asian brush number 7, Asian elephant number 7. I've got them broken up into African elephants and Asian elephants. So I'm going to grab that brush right there. I'm going to create a new layer on top. And look at it, it's giant. I don't need it to be that big. So I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. I'm going to bring it down to about, let's say 1,500 pixels. There, that's a good size right there, because I'm going to show you a really cool technique. The other thing I want to do is I want to grab kind of the local color right in here, and I want to go dark with it. Okay, so I'm grabbing a dark color, and I'm going to place it. I've got the 1,500 pixels, and you see it's kind of big. I want it to be oversized, and let me show you why. I'll pick that cheek, and watch this. Wow, look at that. Now it's a little bit too harsh for my tastes, so I'm going to pull that opacity back. Okay, and right now you can see how it's kind of spilling over, and it's kind of flat. It adds a really cool dimension. It's really neat. All right, but it's a little bit flat, and it's spilling over. So there's a couple things we can do. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to go up to Edit. See where it says Transform? I'm going to come over and go down to my Warp. I want this texture to fit this cheek. See this big cheek right here? I want it to fit that. So what I'm going to do, and see, it creates this grid when you hit the Transform and Warp. Now watch what I can do. I can shape it. I can pull it in. I can mold it. I can warp it around. That's why it's called Warp. I can move it all over the place and shape it to my needs. Pull this up. I'll see how it's getting kind of, how in perspective it's kind of going away from us at the top. It's so cool. I love doing this stuff. It adds such a great dimension to your character work. Let me make that brush a little smaller because it's getting distracting. There we go. So now look at this. Look how it looks like it fits right on the cheek. And anything that still spills over, well, we just go up to our eraser, go to your airbrush setting on the standard brushes that you get with Photoshop. Click on that airbrush right here at the top. I just click on that first one. I get a decent size, and then I just come in and feather it away, all the texture that I don't want for this section. Now you can texture your entire creature in this way just by mosaic, getting little pieces and mosaicing, man, that's a hard word to say, on, and just reshaping them to different places and feather the edges, and you can create texture over the whole thing. Now, the texture is just kind of sitting there. Now you want to kind of to kind of become part of the character. So once again, I'm going to knock that down just a little bit because it still feels a little harsh and I want more of the painting to come through. Now, I've got one other thing I want to do. I'm going to create a layer on top. I'm going to grab a really bright color. I'm going to make it really bright because I want it, what I want to do. Now this would take a little bit of time, but I'm going to come up and I'm going to grab one of my erodible brushes, which is standard in the latest Photoshop. Grab one of those erodible brushes, which looks like a little pencil tip. Okay? And I'm going to come up. Now this would take a little bit of time, but I'm just going to show you. Come in and start highlighting some of these edges. Okay? To match some of the highlights that I've created when I did the original painting, okay? And so as you do this, that texture becomes more and more a part of the painting, okay? And so you can just build it up. I'm going to show you one that I've already done. So that one's a little bit lighter. And you can see the texture. I'm going to double it up a little bit. There we go. So you can see the texture that I've created in some of the highlights. If I bring this down, it starts to feel like it's part of the painting. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you, because I have multiple textures in here, let's come back down. Let's grab another texture. Here's one that I really like. This is, let's see, what number is this? This is Asian elephant number 8. It's got this really cool shape. Once again, that's way too big. 1,000. There we go. There, that's kind of cool. Now I'm going to come in here. Now remember, you can adjust this too. So let's come up here and I'm going to go to my brush tip shape and I want to turn that texture around a little bit. So right here, you go to brush tip shape and I can change the orientation of the brush right here. So I'm going to pull the orientation of the brush down there. Now that texture feels like it's fitting a little bit better on that neck. Okay, so I'll turn that back. So now I've turned the texture around. Now watch this. This is going to be cool. This is more elephant skin. Watch this. There we go. Now I'm digging that. Isn't that cool? Now that on its own looks pretty neat, but watch when we come up and we go to edit, transform, and warp. Now watch this. Let's get this to fit that neck. And I like actually how it's, I'm going to get this part right here to fit right into the cheek. Yeah, right there. So that cheek just fits right into it. We're getting some nice neck wrinkles. All right. Look at that. Hit return. And look how cool that is. Already, you know, just by the little stamp and molding that texture to fit your painting, you're creating texture. Now, if we put that another layer on top, once again, we grab a nice light color, and I'm going to grab, once again, one of the erodible tips, the pencil tip there. Now watch, I can emphasize this even more by just going in and creating some highlights over the texture that I've created. Let me blow that up so you can see it a little better. And you can get that texture to feel more like a part of your painting. And really emphasize that light direction, getting it to feed right into the rest of your painting. See that? Now, once again, check out my website because these things are really cool. The brushes are only $5. They're very cheap. And they take me a little bit of time, first of all, to get them. I've had to travel around the world to get them. So it helps me out, with that as far as that goes. And then I can keep doing this for you guys. But if you look at that, see how it starts to become part of the painting. And if it gets a little harsh, you just go in there with your brush, with your airbrush eraser, and just hit it just a little bit. And then you can go in and redo it. Okay? And look at that. So check them out, creatureartteacher.com. I'm going to have a lot more available. I'm going to continue to be making brushes and that sort of thing. I've got a lot of, I use this kind of stuff all the time. And man, it really helps. It's so much easier when you don't have to create all these wrinkles by hand. It's if you're looking for photographic characters to put into your, to design for, if you're doing it for film or whatever, this is a great shortcut. I do it all the time. It works fantastic. I always say to everybody, some people ask me, is that cheating? Well, no, it's not cheating. The idea is to create a creature or a character that's supposed to fit into a movie, and you got to design it. Well, if this helps and gets you there quicker, then by all means, you should use it. And that's what I do. So if you look at that, look, it just fits right in there. See how cool that is? So this is how I create my textures and my creatures and that sort of thing. So go check it out. Go check out my website. Check out Wacom, W-A-C-O-M, Wacom.com for the equipment. If you're interested in these textures that I've been using, I've got a whole bunch of them along with some other custom Photoshop brushes. Go check out my website. It's creatureartteacher.com. One more thing. Please, if you like what you're seeing, if you've checked out some of my other episodes, please subscribe. Hit the red button down below, that subscribe button, and help me build up my followers. I really, I want to spread the word. I love doing Aaron's art tips, and it's something that I just like to share. So I've got a lot of experience in the industry, drawing and painting and that sort of thing, and I just want to share it with the world. So I hope you learned something today, and until next week, I'll talk to you later. Thanks.
And that video came from Margie, so.
Really cool. I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Yeah, I knew you would.
I liked it. That was neat.
Yeah. You could do that on photos too, not just drawings. So next time we go to the zoo, everybody is going to be taking pictures of the elephants with like an 800mm lens.
I already take all kinds of weird like rust and teacups with chocolate in it. Stuff. So.
Textures.
Yeah, you can turn those into textures easily. Tree trunks, stuff like that. Trees work great.
Marty likes trees.
So there are any questions about textures?
That's neat.
When are we playing?
Soon.
Thank you, Beth.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Well, Bob, while Brian's losing, what's your little tip?
Yeah, it'll just take 5 minutes. One of the things that we all face is when we take a photograph and use layers in Photoshop, the file becomes very big and all that. And it's very hard to, if you make a JPEG, certainly you reduce the file size to send it to, email or send it to, any website. Certainly you could upload multiple large volume files to, Dropbox or to Google Drive. But I came across this tip from, and I'll link the website in the chat room, but it's rather than using save as in Photoshop, we use export, and I'll show how it works and all that to reduce the file size without any compromise of the quality of the photo. So what do I do? Just press share screen?
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
And then you'll need to pick from the thing.
From which thing?
From all of the ones that it.
Oh, is this
shows you.
mine? This is mine, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try
I
this
did
one here.
desktop just so that no matter what I click on, it'll pop up.
Okay. I guess we have to allow it. I guess, well.
Yeah, you have to allow it to share.
Right. And I did. Okay. Are we sharing it right now? Can you see the screen?
No.
Okay. Let me just
On the,
what is it?
on the bottom right, there's a thing to click to.
Oh, okay, you have to unlock it. No, let me just unlock it. And share it with Zoom and all that.
Mhm.
No, okay, I don't want to leave the meeting. Later, okay. So I did all that, and let's see if I could just share the screen. Do you see this picture of the blacksmith?
Not
No.
yet.
No. Share, is that, do you see it now? No?
Mhm.
Okay. I think I'll need a lesson on this and all that. I'm not sure what else to do. I've opened system preferences and allowed it. Okay, wait till I learn and then I'll show you the tip. But anyway, let me give you the link for this video, because the thing is that with the export module, I mean, you go to File, press down Export, you could take your photo, which may be, let's say, 10 megabytes, and reduce it in size with a scaler. And if you make a side-to-side comparison, the quality is the same, even when it's in kilobytes. So I'll put the link here. Let me, at least I could do that. And then I'll learn how to, and maybe next time I'll show you. Oh, okay. I sent the link, and it's a good YouTube video. It takes about 15 minutes. Describes the difference between save as, which it takes all your files and it's not baked in. You could change it with a TIFF or even finish it with a JPEG. But when you do the export, once you do the export, you can't change it and all that. So it should be your final step in exporting the file. And again, like I said, I had like a 6 megabyte file. I reduced it to a kilobyte, and I was able to send multiple photos certainly in a folder to an individual without having to go through Google Drive or what do you call it, with Dropbox. So the link is there on the chat formula there, or the chat. And I'm sorry and apologize for that. I was not able to share the video, the screen, but I'll have to learn and so forth and all that. Let me see if there's anything I did that could, no. Let me just try this again. Do you see that now?
Yeah.
Yeah, now
Okay.
You got it that time.
Okay, good. Hey, I'm getting a little bit better and all that. Okay. Oops, no. Okay, let me just get out of here. Okay, now, this is a file that it was probably about 7 or 8 megabytes. So what I did is you go to File, and then again, you could save a copy and make it into a JPEG, and then afterwards, or a TIFF, whatever you want, you could change it and so forth if you want to make some modifications later on. But let's say you finish with your product and you say, you know what, there's enough changes here, I don't need to make any more changes. So then I'm going to export it and export as. And you can see here that right now it's 4.9 megabytes, which if I had multiple photos, cumulative, I think email by Google, you can only send, or Safari, you can only send about 25 megabytes. So let's say if I want to send this plus multiple photos in a JPEG form, what I do and still remain the width and the height and so forth, I change this little slider, move it down here. And what happens is that you're changing the file size, and I hope this doesn't stop on me, but Use this slider to change, to lessen the file size and still remaining some quality, and we'll make a head-to-head comparison that almost looks the same with the larger file compared to the smaller file. If I could have my computer start working a little bit. It doesn't take, I mean, I didn't come across this problem beforehand with the spinning wheel, but then once you get that, okay, to the file size you want, and whether it's 1 or 2 megabytes or kilobytes, you could preview it with a side-to-side comparison and see that there's no changes and all that, or changes that you really can't, see. And then what you do is you copyright it, of course, and then you export it, and then you export it to whatever you want to and all that, whether it's your desktop or an external hard drive. But again, this is a way of exporting large files in a smaller capacity without compromising the quality of the photo. And I use this to send multiple photos by email, and it came to about the 5 megabytes of multiple photos. So as you can see here, now it's 2.7 megabytes. I could even lower it. But then again, if I make a side-to-side comparison, there's hardly any noticeable difference in all that. So you can see that at a smaller file size, the quality basically remains the same and all that. So you could even reduce it even further. Let's see how far it'll go without getting into a issue here of the spinning wheel. But
Bob?
2.3 megabytes. So again, you can reduce the size without too much, without any significant reduction in quality. Then of course you export it to the file that you want. And again, you put the copyright in and then convert to whatever color profile. So, and then you export it and then to the file that you want. But it's something that I saw on YouTube that I thought may be interesting to anyone that has large files that you want to send by mail without the limitations imposed by the carrier and all that.
Bob,
Yeah,
can you bring that screen back up?
I'm sorry,
Can you bring that screen back up?
which one, the
The one you
file?
just had up.
Oh, okay, export file.
Okay, your method using the quality slider,
Yes.
that gives you a better picture than changing the image size by pixels?
Well, the thing is that this is to send, I mean, I didn't check to see whether I could change the size of this. And this is the thing that we have. I mean, in order to reduce it, you have to change it, crop it, whatever you, but this is, I think, more or less to export it to, let's say, you may want to try using it to photograph, I mean, to make a print or so forth. But I have yet to do that. This was just my first exposure to this, and I sent it by email to the Heritage Society because they wanted either, if the file size is too big, send it by Dropbox. I didn't want to do that. So I came across this, and again, I have yet to print it and see whether we get the same resolution and all that, 300 DPI. But again, it's just something that you may want to try to export it by email, or even try making a photo size without cropping and losing any of the data.
I did notice that that your image sizes in the pixels never changed whenever you drop down the quality.
Right.
on it. So it's saying on the bottom of those comparisons that they
Right.
ones that say the megabytes are smaller, but the pixels are still the same.
Right. I have to see whether I could transpose this into a print and see whether I still have to crop it to change the pixel size. So-
I'm just gonna jump in here for a quick second, because what you're doing is compressing your file.
Okay.
So you're not changing your pixel size as Annie just brought up.
Mhm,
You're not
okay.
telling it to change the pixel size. The pixel size is the size of your image.
Right.
So if you had that in not pixels and in inches, it would say 8 by 12 or whatever inches you were using. By dropping the quality of your JPEG exported file, like you're doing, all you're doing is compressing your file.
Okay, right.
And you are dropping the quality of your picture. If you take that picture at 4.9 megabytes and print it in a 16 by 20, and you take that picture at 2.7 megabytes and print it in a 16 by 20, you will see a difference.
Right. Well, I think this is more attuned to, let's say, if you want to export it by
Right. If
to the
you're,
media, not to print and all that. Let's put it
right.
this
If
way.
you're using this to email it or post it on Flickr or post it on Reddit or something like that, then it's a great idea and it works well.
Right.
But remember though, when you do that and you export that photo, if you happen to print that photo, you've lost the quality because you've told the computer, let's cut the quality down.
Right.
And that's what you're doing. So I just want to bring that up to everyone so that they understand that what's happening is it is cutting the quality of the photo down, but it's making it, like you said, now I can add 10 pictures into an email instead of 2.
Right.
Which is helpful if you're sending stuff out or, you know, and you need to be able to get stuff out to someone for them to be able to look at on their computer or whatever. That's a perfect way of doing it. But like I said, I just wanted to bring up that this is a loss of quality when you do it this way.
Right. Well, it was something that
what I've been doing successfully, as far as I know, I've never noticed any problems with it, but I'll take the width or the height, whichever is larger, and drop that down to 1,000. And that generally works across the board for moving, especially stuff by email. And it, at the same time, considerably reduces the size of the file. If there's a file limitation, you can play around with that number, juggle it, and get it there. But you have to lock the width and the height together whenever you make your selection.
That is
true. In other words, if you knock this down to 1,000, the width down to 1,000, you'd want the height to be locked in. So there's a word for it, but it maintains the
aspect
ratio.
Yeah. And well, you're locking your aspect ratio when you do that. So you're doing the same thing. Like when I export a file, I export it at 8 inches on the long side is how I tell my stuff to export the file out. But when I'm on my Mac, if I'm emailing that picture, when I attach that picture to an email, it gives me an option. Do I want to send it at full size or do I want to send it at small, medium, or large? So the Mac will do that for you automatically. I attach it if I'm going to attach 5 or 6 pictures, I just attach them at a small size, and it does the compression itself and sends it for sending an email. But what I was really wanting to point out is that by changing the quality, you're compressing the file, and that's why it's coming out as a smaller file. It looks as good, but it will not look as good once you print it, because it's a smaller file. That's all there is to it. And when you get messing around with compressing JPEG files, you lose a lot of information very quickly. So that's all. That's my 2 cents.
That's good, Brian. Thank you.
But Bob, for what you're using it for and attaching it to emails and sending it out, it's perfect. That's a really good way of using that process, and you're using it for the right purpose. Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? Beth, if you could do me a favor and drop, if you have them still up, the links to your videos in the chat.
Yes, and I've got another one.
Okay.
I'm putting 3 in.
Okay. When you guys drop any kind of links or anything like that in this chat, I pull that information when I post the video tonight to YouTube. It'll be in the description. All those links for each one of the videos is in the description of the YouTube channel on the YouTube video. So if you're ever trying to find them or you're not sure where it was at or anything, if you go to our YouTube channel and look in the description, all the links to any of the YouTube videos or anything that we've shown I'll put those in that description as well. So just to let you know, that's, if you want to find them, that's where they'll be later on. So I pull them out of the chat log after the recording's done and post them. So, all right. So who's planning on going to the History Center on Sunday?
I think so.
I see some hands. All right. All right. I already bought my ticket, so I'm going.
Yep, I'm going.
So, all right. Well, we'll be meeting down there Sunday at 10 o'clock. I will post some information and send out an invite like normal. I'll try to do that tomorrow if my boss isn't a jackass all day. I'll try to get that done tomorrow and get it posted out and get it sent out so everyone has some time to go, with links to where you buy tickets if you want to buy them ahead of time. All right. Does anyone else have anything else? Well, for all you that participated and commented, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We thank you. And I look forward to getting together with some of you guys on Sunday. And to let you know, I know there was a mention of business cards a little while ago. I have yet to find business cards, so I ordered a new batch. So they're on order. I'm waiting for them to come in. They will not be here by this weekend. Unfortunately, I was hoping they would, but they won't be. But the time that we get together after that, I will have business cards. Once they get here, I'm putting them in the truck and leaving them in the truck. So they'll be in my truck no matter what. So.
And then you'll find the old ones anyway.
I'll probably find them tomorrow after I've ordered the new ones. So
Probably find them in the truck.
But I did adjust them a little bit instead of because it said on the back that we met at St. Vincent's College. I adjusted that and just said that we meet on the second Monday and last Thursday of every month, and then didn't put a destination for that because we're not really sure where we're meeting at this point, if we're meeting in person. So. But anyhow, they're on order, so I will have them before long for those of you that have been asking for them. So that'd be that. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's good seeing you all.
Thank you, Brian.
Hey,
Guys.
good seeing you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Good night.
night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.